Good morning, gentlemen. Again, we are coming to you from Majma University, the Deanship of the Common Year, and again we are continuing the online version of our English Second Language course. Again, I am your teacher, Dale Warren, covering the language skill speaking. And today we are going to be doing Unit 6 of Level 3. We are using our normal textbook, Q Skills for Success, Book 3, Listening and Speaking. This one, which you should all be very familiar with by now, the one which has the green picture, as you can see on the icon in the left-hand corner. Alright, as you will also know from the past units, I need you all to have a paper and pen because you are going to have to do some work for me at home. Okay, our lesson contents for today are as follows: making the gerund and the infinitive on page 122, using the gerund and the infinitive on page 122, and our homework will be an exercise on the gerund or the infinitive, again from page 122, and it is exercise A. Alright, so in your books I need you all to turn to page 122. And the section that we are looking at should look like that: gerunds and infinitives as the objects of verbs. So please all pause your video and make sure you have turned to that page in the book, and then unpause the video again. Alright. Let us start with a few definitions. The gerund is the verbal noun. It is the noun that we make from the verb. The way we make the gerund is we take the base form of the verb and then we add the suffix ing, the suffix ing. So for example, if my verb is to read, the base form is read. I add the suffix ing and I get the gerund reading. If my verb is to cook, then the base form of the verb is cook. I add the suffix ing and I get the gerund cooking. Alright, so it's a very simple rule. If you need to make the gerund, all you do is you take the base form of the verb and you add ing. Now, that is the normal rule for making gerunds in English. The rule varies, however, where the base form of the verb ends in E. Where the base form of the verb ends in one E only, drop that E before you add the suffix ing. So for example, if our base form is like, we have an E at the end of like, we take away that E, then we add ing and we get liking. Please note, liking does not have an E in it. That is incorrect. Okay. If our base form is hate, it ends in an E, So we drop that E, then we add the suffix ing, and it becomes hating. Once again, E should not be in the gerund. It falls away. If there is one E only, you drop it. There is only one exception to the one E rule, and that is the verb to be. The verb to be takes its gerund as follows: be plus ing equals being. The verb to be keeps the final G, the final E, when we make the gerund. So every other verb with the final one E drops it, but the verb to be keeps it. Okay. So the verb to be has a gerund, which is spelt with the E. Now, where the base form of the verb ends in two E's, both E's remain before the ing. Examples: agree plus ing goes to agreeing, and we keep the two E's. Free, the verb to free somebody or to free something, has two E's in its base form. We add ing and we keep the two E's. So it is only where there is one E that we drop the E, and the exception to that rule is the verb to be. All right, making the infinitive. The infinitive is made by the particle to plus the base verb. So we will use the particle to and the base verb eat, and our infinitive is to eat. We will take the particle to, we will add the base form drink, and our infinitive comes to drink. All right, so that is how we will make the infinitive. The way we use the gerund and the infinitive is as follows. The gerund can either be the subject of the verb, or it can be the object of the verb. Our lesson today ignores the gerund as the subject. It only looks at the gerund as the object of the verb. So, we need to see how we make that construction. When we use the gerund as the object of the verb, we have to start with the subject, for instance, are. Then we have a main verb, like eating, I like eating chocolates. He dislikes eating porridge. They hate eating spicy food. So, we could say Ahmed avoids farting with his mother. The Saudis quit visiting Canada. In each of these examples, we start with the subject, then we have a main verb, like. Then we have a gerund, which is a base verb plus ing, so it could be eating, which is the base verb eat plus ing. It could be farting, which is the base verb fart plus ing. It could be visiting, which is the base verb visit plus ing. Okay. And then we will have the predicate, chocolates, porridge, spicy food with his mother. It's a very simple 4-block construction. Subject, main verb, gerund, predicate. Okay. What I want you all to do now is make me, on your paper, 3 sentences using this pattern. So, I want you to use the main verb hate in 1 sentence, the main verb avoids in 1 sentence, and the main verb quit in 1 sentence. Okay, so in each of these sentences on your paper, put a subject, and then the main verb, and then the gerund, which is the base verb plus ing, and then the predicate. Very simple. You just have to make 3 sentences, 1, 2, and 3, using this pattern, subject, main verb, gerund, and predicate. And I have given you the 3 main verbs. In your first sentence, use the verb hate. In the second, avoids. And in the third one, quit. All right. Please pause the video and on your paper, make me those 3 sentences. All right. Let us have a look at this. You can use any subject here, except he, she, or it, because it doesn't have an S on the end of hate. So if you used he, she, or it, you would need an S. So, we hate going to the supermarket. Would be a good answer. Whatever answer you give me, it has to have a subject in block number 1. It has to have the main verb hate. It has to have a gerund, which in this case is the main verb go plus ing, but you can give me some other gerund. And then it has to have a predicate that makes sense. Now, because avoids in number 2 has an S at the end, I can only use he, she, or it as the subject. So, if I use Inars equals she, so we can use Inars. Inars avoids dating ugly men. Okay. Remember, date, if date is the verb and it ends in an E, we drop the E and then we add the ing. So then it equals dating. Alright. When there's one E at the end of the base form, you drop that E when you make the gerund. So we have a subject, Inars. Inaz avoids, and there's an S there because Inaz is female singular, third person. Dating, we have a gerund from the base verb to date and the suffix ing, and the predicate is ugly men. Inaz avoids dating ugly men. All right. You can give me any other sentence you like, but just remember, because there is an S there, your subject has to be he, she, or it, or it has to be a female or male. Ahmed is fine because Ahmed equals he. He is one male. Okay. Right, let us look at number 3. The Americans quit wearing face masks. We have a subject, the Americans. We have a main verb, quit. We have a gerund from the main verb wear plus the suffix ing, and it becomes wearing. And we have an object, face masks. Now, that is perfectly all right. And if you gave me any sentence where you put a subject in the first block, you kept the verb quit in the second block, you had a proper gerund in the third block, and the right object in the fourth, that sentence should be correct. All right. Some verbs are used only with the gerund. Some main verbs are used only with the infinitive. Some main verbs can be used with either the gerund or the infinitive. So, if I look at these 3 main verbs, to hate, to avoid, to quit, all of those are in this list that are used only with the gerund. Admit, avoid, discuss, enjoy, finish, miss, and quit are all main verbs that are used only with the gerund. They are not used with the infinitive. Okay, let us carry on. Some main verbs are used only with the infinitive, not with the gerund. And those verbs are in this list: agree, choose, decide, hope, learn, want, plan, or need. Now, when we use them, the main verb with an infinitive, the infinitive directly after the main verb is what we call a prolative infinitive. Please all say after me, prolative, prolative. Okay. That word prolative simply means carrying forwards. A prolative infinitive carries forwards the meaning of the main verb. Let me show you what I mean. If we say John agrees, I do not know what John agrees to do. If I say John agrees to leave, The infinitive is to leave. Okay, so this is our infinitive. And that then carries forwards the meaning of the word agrees. If I say, John needs to go. Again, we have a prolative infinitive. Your infinitive is to go, and it carries forwards the meaning of your main verb. Your main verb is needs. Okay, because if I just put John needs, what does John need? I don't know. We need a prolative infinitive to carry forward the meaning of the main verb. So, our main verb is needs. And our infinitive, which is a prolative infinitive, to leave. John needs to leave, so you have a main verb and you have an infinitive that carries forwards the meaning. You could say John needs to sleep. You could say John needs to eat. Any infinitive will carry forwards the meaning of needs. If I say Lisa wants to shop for new dresses, wants is our main verb, to shop is our infinitive. But if I just put Lisa wants for new dresses, no. We need an infinitive. It could be to shop, it could be to look, it could be anything. We could say Lisa needs to get ideas. And idea to get would then be our prolative infinitive. The main verb wants by itself needs an infinitive to carry the idea forwards. Okay. The infinitive construction in its basic form goes as follows. We have the subject, an, in the first block, main verb wants, the infinitive, which is to, plus the base verb, to buy, and wants to buy fish for supper. If we look at example 2, I am the subject, hope is the main verb, and the infinitive is to retire, using the particle to and the base verb. Retire makes our infinitive. I hope to retire next year. If we look at example 3, the Russians is our subject. The main verb is plan. Our infinitive is to plus the base verb, so it's to, and our base verb here is rule. The Russians plan to rule the world. Okay. Now, it is a very simple 4-block construction. What I want all of you to do, get paper and pen. I need you to pause the video and I need you to write me a sentence of your own using this 4-block construction, subject, main verb, infinitive, and predicate. And in the second block, I want you to use as your main verbs, hope in sentence number 1 and plan in sentence number 2. So you can give me any 2 sentences you like, but I want you to use hope as the main verb in the first one and plan as the main verb in the second one. Okay, so please pause the video, write your 2 sentences on a piece of paper, and then unpause the video. Okay, let's give some examples here. They hope to pass. To is the particle, pass is the base verb, and our infinitive is to pass. Their next exam. They hope to pass their next exam. I could use a different subject. I could say the students hope to pass their next exam. I plan to buy groceries later today. I plan to buy groceries later today. Okay, I am the subject, but I could say we, I could say they, I could say the girls. Any subject will do. Plan is our main verb. In our third box, we have an infinitive, to buy, and in our fourth box, we have a predicate. Okay, if you gave me any 2 sentences and you had a proper subject in the first blocks, you had hope as your main verb in the first sentence and plan in the second sentence. If you gave me any infinitive, proper infinitives, 2 plus a base verb in the third block, and any logical predicate in the fourth block, your sentence should be okay. It's a very simple construction, as I say. It is just 4 blocks: the subject, the main verb, the infinitive, and then the predicate. All right, moving on. There are certain verbs that can be used with either the gerund or the infinitive. And the list of those verbs is as follows: prefer, dislike, begin, hate, like, and love. Now, again, we will use the same basic 4-block construction, but notice in block 3, you can either use a gerund or you can use the infinitive. So I will say, he prefers studying alone, and I used the gerund. Or I can say, he prefers to study alone, and I used the infinitive. Yumna loves eating ice creams, and I used the gerund, eating. But I can also say, because loves can take a gerund or an infinitive, Yumna loves to eat ice creams. Ali hates working hard, and working is a gerund. But I can also use their claim construction and just change the gerund to the infinitive, and I can say Ali hates to work hard. Uzair dislikes walking far. Dislikes takes the gerund there, but dislikes can also take an infinitive. So I can say Yuzeh dislikes to walk far. Alright, what I want you to do is to make for me at home on your paper 4 sentences. I want you to make sentence 1 and use hate with the gerund construction. Then I want you to make sentence 2 and use hates with the infinitive construction. I want you to make sentence 3, use dislikes with the gerund construction. And then sentence 4, use dislikes with the infinitive construction. So each of those 2 verbs, hates and dislikes, I want you to give me 2 sentences for each. And in the one sentence, use the gerund. And in the next sentence, use the infinitive. Okay. Please pause the video, guys, and I need you to make me 4 sentences, all on your piece of paper. Okay. Right. You should have all done those 4 sentences. Before we start giving examples, please note that that ends in an S, that ends in an S, that ends in an S, and that ends in an S. So when the present tense of the main verb ends in an S, the subject of that verb, he, the subject of that verb must be he, she, or it, or the equivalent. When I say the equivalent, Ahmed, Ali, Sali are all equal to he. Inaz, Kate, Feroza, all equal she. So we can use he or she, or we could say Ahmed, or we could say Sali, or we could say Mazen, or we could say Hassan, or we could say Inaz, or Kate, or Magda, or Yomna. Any one of them would equal she. So let us use a name we haven't used. Mazen hates any gerund running long races. Okay, so there we have used the gerund construction. If we have to turn that into the infinitive construction, Mazen hates to run. And now we have used an infinitive in the third box, long races. If we say she dislikes to drive herself, we have used the infinitive, but we can also use the gerund construction. She dislikes driving. herself. And remember, because the base form has one E, when we make the gerund, there is no E there. Okay. If you have made any sentences and they have a singular subject, third person in the main, in the subject box, they have the main verb hates or dislikes as per the instructions in block 2. You need 2 gerunds. I have used running and driving in the third block, but you can make any gerund you like with the base verb plus ing. And if you have an optional predicate, then your sentences should be fine. All right, everybody, let us move on. Okay, our homework today is also on page 122, and the homework is about deciding when do we use gerunds, it is about deciding when we use gerunds, when we use infinitives, and when we use both. Now, what tells us when we use gerunds or infinitives or both is the main verb that comes in front of the gerund or the infinitive. Remember this very important point. What tells us when to use a gerund or an infinitive or both is the main verb in front of it. Some main verbs only take gerunds. Some only take infinitives. Some take both. All right. So the thing you need to look at is the main verb. The main verb is what will tell you whether you need to use a gerund or an infinitive or both. So if the main verb is admit, avoid, discuss, enjoy, finish, miss, or quit, that main verb can only take a gerund. If the main verb is agree, choose, decide, hope, want, learn, plan, or need, that main verb can only take an infinitive. Where the main verb is prefer, dislike, begin, hate, like, or love, it will take both the gerund and the infinitive. So if we look at the exercise, hey Janice, did you hear the news? My boss agreed. And here we have a gerund giving and an infinitive to give. What we need to do, have a look, and we see that word agree can only go with the infinitive. So, because agree can only go with the infinitive, we will circle the infinitive. If you look at number 2, yeah, but I hope to become the infinitive, or becoming the gerund, our main verb here is hope. And when we look at our list, we can see hope is a verb that can only be used with the infinitive. So again, we would need to answer by circling the infinitive. Okay, now I need you all to go and look at all these other questions, 3 and 4, and then the others right down to 8 on page 123, and look at the main verb each time. When you see it is just a main verb that can take an infinitive, circle the infinitive. If it can take a gerund only, circle the gerund. If it takes both, then I want you to circle both. All right. Okay. Now, what I need you to do when your answers are complete, take a photograph of exercise A on page 122 and 123, attach the photograph to an email, head the email homework, and send the email to your speaking teacher. Thank you very much, everybody, and that is it for this week, and you will be hearing from me again next week.